Along the banks of the Nile, we have practically no surviving pharaonic palaces from ancient Egypt. Although there are no surviving homes of the pharaohs, the homes of the gods still stand. The crown jewels of Egypt were its temples. For worshippers of the past, they were far more than the brick and mortar ruins of today. They were the astonishingly colorful and gleaming homes of the gods, built on a scale which would provoke the awe of any worshippers. The gods lived in the inner sanctum, embodied in sculpture, and bathed, dressed, and fed as the holiest of holies. These divine homes admitted only the elite of the pharaonic family and the high priests. Only on festival days were the masses allowed to participate in making offerings or the direct worship of the god. Temples were places of mystery, magic, and the fragrance of the gods. They were the home of magical thinking. They were also the spawning ground of innovation in mathematics, sciences, and the arts, subjects of great value to the continuity of the pharaoh's absolute power. Through the architectural and engineering feats of temples such as Karnak, the pharaohs ensured their place in the present and the future.
Karnak, the largest religious complex in the ancient world. It was active and expanded over an extraordinarily long period of time, stretching over the reigns of 30 pharaohs. Everything behind me extends along one long north-south axis. This axis is critical in all temple architecture in ancient Egypt, because the temple is supposed to be a microcosm that represents Egypt. So we have these massive pylons, which represent the rises along the banks of the river Nile, and between them, the central axis, which is the river itself.
Karnak reflects the waxing and waning power of the pharaohs and priests. The most extraordinary upset of the power of the priesthood occurred during the reign of Amenhotep IV, known as Akhenaten. This pharaoh's radical belief in only one god, Aten, the sun god, usurped the power of the priests who represented the various cults of gods and goddesses. However, these radical changes in beliefs were to be only momentary in the course of Egyptian history. Upon his death, all representations of the heretic pharaoh were defaced. And even though the seeds of monotheism had been planted and would appear at a later time in history, polytheism and the former gods and goddesses of Egypt returned upon Akhenaten's demise. Long after Egypt ceased to be a world power, despite waves of invasion and upheaval, Egyptian religion continued. Its temples still bustled until the banning of paganism by the Roman Emperor Theodosius I. Though their temples fell silent, their gods abandoned, and their fragrances faded, the wisdom and insights of the Egyptians lived on through the exchange of words and texts. Collaboration between mathematicians, engineers, and philosophical thinkers under the pharaoh's mandate was required in order to envision and construct the monumental religious and funerary structures and palaces. Ideas, images, and objects of culture were blown by the winds aboard Mediterranean trade ships that functioned as links between one fading empire and an emergent civilization that would reshape the human imagination, transform thinking, creativity, and the arts.